Santa Barbara, California. I want to take a few moments and answer a question from one of my incredible IES students. His name is Ethan. So shout out to you, Ethan, for the awesome question. But essentially, Ethan is working mostly in residential and has been, and he's finding a lot of recent success doing so. But he's been wanting to break into the commercial side of the industry for quite some time, but now he's kind of second guessing, should I or shouldn't I even get into it because I'm doing so well with the residential. But say I did do that, where should I focus my energy and my efforts over the next 6 months? And so, my short answer on whether or not you should do it, whether or not it's worth it, is yes, absolutely. Okay, and let me explain. I think a lot of this depends on who you are and what your business model looks like and what your long-term career choices are. But short answer is yes, and here's why. Let's say that your goal over the next 12 months is to process $1 million in sales, like $1 million in volume. How many residential roofs or how many residential projects overall? And a lot of you folks are doing like just roofs only, and some of you are focusing most of your efforts on exterior work. Some of you are doing all the work. Some of you do fire, water, who are watching this video. But any of those things, how many residential projects are you going to have to process to get to $1 million in volume? Is it 20? It all depends on what your average job size really is, right? Is it 20? Is it 50? And so if it is 50, then it's not just 50 jobs, right? Like, it's 50 homeowners that you have to deal with and all of their issues. And I would submit to you that when you take on any homeowner project, it's like you're married to that homeowner for quite some time until the project is done. And sometimes they can't, wait to be gone with you, wait to be rid of you, and sometimes you can't wait to get rid of them. But so it's not just the homeowner though, but how many different insurance claims does that involve? So how many different adjusters do you have to deal with, right? If they have mortgages, how many different mortgage companies are you going to have to deal with? How many different job sites are you going to have to coordinate your efforts towards? How many different sets of labor crews are you going to have to get bids from and get your labor contracts nailed down with? How many different material orders are you going to have to place? If you're in jurisdictions where you have to have permits and or inspections, then how many of those are you going to have to do, right? So for that reason, and then let me follow that up with how many commercial projects is it going to take to get to $1 million? Now, if they're small commercial projects, it's not relevant. But I'm talking about, if you're already doing jobs that are 30, 40, 50 square roofs, for example, why aren't you doing jobs that are 400 to 500 square roofs, right? If you can do a 50 square roof project, you could do a 500 square roofing project. After all, you're already doing 500 squares over the course of 8, 9, 10 jobs, right? And so I just think for that reason, you should be aiming at larger jobs, right? And so with that, how many adjusters are you going to have to deal with on the larger job? How many different banks are you going to have to deal with? How many different, crews and permits? With a $1 million volume target benchmark, you could get there with one job or 2 to 5 jobs, right? Or what? 5 to 10 jobs? So either way, it is worth it to be processing commercial jobs. So just from a numbers standpoint, from the money and the margins and things, it's definitely worth it. But also for those of you who are processing commercial jobs, a lot of times sometimes those are even easier to deal with than residential projects. I mean, let's just face it. In order to close the job, sometimes homeowners are so daggone skeptical, when they're vetting you and look who they're comparing you against. And so, with commercial jobs, it seems like it's not as personal. It's not someone's home, and it's just another transaction that they have to make in their course of business. And it's not always the case, but most commercial jobs are much easier to deal with, and it's much easier to deal with on the adjuster side of things too. I think a lot of times the residential game, the insurance game with adjusters, is a lot more cutthroat. Like, I would rather deal with a fire water job than a residential roof job, because they try to cookie cut everything and make everything fit into one package. And so when you start getting into commercial, they start sending out more senior people. Not always, but usually they're more veterans, and people are at the higher end of the insurance game. And so they kind of tend to know what's up, and they're not in the mood for a lot of the games that they play at the residential level. So I think there's a lot of other reasons why commercial is a lot more, it's profitable, but also enjoyable. So I do think that getting in the commercial side of things is the way to go. Now, how to do that? So the other question was, where should I focus my efforts over the next 6 months? So now we can go into many videos on this topic, probably a whole university on this topic, right? But I think from a top line perspective, if I had to answer that in a short video like this, that's what I'm trying to do, I would say a couple of things. Number one, let's talk about insurance agents, okay? And you should already, if you're not going to do commercial work, you should already be tapping into insurance agents in your work to really tap into more of a referral, repetitive business, repeat business, right? So if you're doing roofing, let's be honest, when's the next time your client is going to hire you to do their roof? I mean, hopefully not for a long time, right? Unless there's another storm, another claim that would give them reason to do so. Hopefully it's not because the roof has failed, right? Because otherwise they're not going to hire you. And so repeat business in roofing is not really that great on the residential side of things, okay? So I do want you to be going after lifetime value and trying to make, so that when that client does need a new roof, they're going to go with you, right? They're automatically going to go with you because it was so wonderful of an experience the last time. But you want, this is not the type of business where people are going to be calling you all the time. Repeat business, like, you go to get your hair cut at the same place by the same, people or same person, it's not really the same. It's not comparable. But here's a way where you could make it comparable, because an agent, if you could get an agent to refer you prospects, which, by the way, usually the agent is the first contact that a prospect's going to make whenever a claim occurs, right? Even if they have, something hanging on the wall of a 24-hour claims hotline, usually they're going to call their agent, especially if they have any kind of relationship whatsoever with the agent or the agent's office, okay? So they're usually going to call the agent, and then the agent's going to help them facilitate the filing of that claim. And what I found is agents are a great source of someone to say, hey, now that we've got the claim filed, now I want you to call John, or now I want you to call, in this case, Ethan, right? Because I know that Ethan is going to take care of you. See, and also, if you're going to do that, do not try to pay off the agent. Don't offer the agent any kind of money or any, tickets to sports games or anything like that. Instead, what you're after is to make the agent look like a hero. That's what you're trying to do, okay? So you're there to make the agent look very good to the prospect that they referred to you, okay? And what I like to think of is you're going to set up somewhat of a VIP concierge for your clients, okay? So when they come to you, you're going to service them over the top, from the construction standpoint. But in addition to that, you're going to do things that go above and beyond construction. So if they have a fire, if they have to make arrangements for a hotel, or maybe it's a hurricane, and the insurance company is going to pay for hotel accommodations, maybe you have some kind of preferred membership, like I do and did when I was a contractor, to where you can get free upgrades, or you can get more of a bang for your buck. For like, if the insurance company is going to pay $100 to $150 a day, for a standard size room, maybe you can get them upgraded to a suite, right? And that's just a benefit of them doing business with you that has nothing to do with construction, but is a huge plus, sort of a perk. And that's why I like to think of it concierge, VIP concierge, that you can do for them. And keep thinking about that. What else can you do for them? Can you offer transportation? Can you offer other things that can help them? Can you figure out accommodations for their pets? Okay, so that's what I like for you to be thinking of. And then here's what I want you to do. So, and you're thinking of, well, how am I going to approach agents now that you've given me these ideas? Well, dude, you already have access to the agents. So don't be thinking about, can I go cold call agents and just call them up and walk into their door? No, because you actually already have a warm approach now. Okay, so, and actually, when I was a contractor, tried, when Google Maps was first coming out, printed out all the agents within a vicinity. And that didn't work at all. I walked in, cold call, and they saw me right out the door. And if you're going to like State Farm and stuff, remember, keep in mind, they have the PSP program, the preferred vendor program, right? And so if they have that in place, they're going to try to direct them to that. So try to focus on independent agencies that offer multiple products and from multiple companies, okay? And focus on agencies who sell commercial products, right? Commercial insurance products. But what you want to do is, you already have the contact from the people that you're coming into contact with now, like your clients now. And so you're probably already filling out some kind of a customer lead sheet for your clients, like a form, or like if they do an inquiry on your website, that's a lead sheet essentially. If they call and if you have an inbound service that takes your calls, an answering service, or if it's your receptionist, or if it's you on your cell phone and you're trying to scratch it on a pad, you're asking them like what their name is and their address and the description of the repairs. And by the way, I say this in some of my other stuff, you should be asking 5 questions, which is, have you already notified the insurance company? Have they already sent somebody out? What'd they say? And who is your insurance company? And when are you looking to have the repairs completed? Those 5 questions. But just in addition to that, right? So you already asked who their insurance company is. Who's your agent? You don't have to ask them for the agent's number or address, but maybe part of town. Who's your agent? Just to generally, don't ask them to go look it up. I mean, if they want to, by all means, have them do it. But now you have the agent's information. Another thing to do too is, you're asking, like whenever you're signing up clients, you need to know if they have an RCV policy or an ACV policy. You need to know if they have OL coverage and if there's any restrictions to that. Okay, so those are only really 2 policy questions I would ever get into. Other than that, I'd stay far from policy and coverage. If you're a contractor, stay in your lane. But much like if you're a windshield replacement company, right, and somebody files a claim, you got to know that information. You have to make contact with the insurance company, make sure they have the coverage before you start doing repairs. This is sensible information I think is okay to gather from the client. But again, when you're signing them up, kind of as a standard, ask them to send an email to the client, copy you on it, or an email to the agent, copy you on it, asking those basic questions. Sort of a matter as routine, like as a matter of your sign-up process. So there's 2 contact points to agents, okay? Now, I would go in, introduce myself to the agent or the agent's gatekeeper, not spend a lot of time at all. In fact, tell them, I'm in a hurry and I can't stay. Here's my card, here's my information. The reason why I'm here is I wanted to give you a status update of your policyholder, your client's claim, that I'm sure you're aware that's going on, right? Because a lot of times they don't have any idea. See, in the old days, they would go and visit, the agent would go visit somebody who had a claim, with their hat and take their hat off. And, hey, my wife wanted me to bring you this covered dish, make sure you're okay. That old-fashioned way of doing business it should come back, right? But the agents don't care about servicing you anymore. All they care about is marketing and selling you. All they care about now is whether or not you're going to renew again when your policy comes up, okay? They wish they had the time to put in these extra step things, because if they did, you would renew, okay? And so I would go in and say, look, I'm sure you were going to go visit them and check on them and all that, but hey, I wanted to save you the trouble and bring you the status update to you, right? And here's who I am. This is what we're doing. Here's some pictures of all their damage. We met with the adjuster. We're meeting with the adjuster. Here's what we're doing, and I'll check back with you and give you a status update on how things are going. Okay? I can't stay right now. I don't have time. I got to go. See, at first they're going to think that you're there to sell them, but you're not. Right? You're going for the more long-term approach. You're going to prove yourself. My cousin does mitigation and water mitigation, and he would use this approach. He would bring in like a nice wicker basket with him. I mean, he'd kind of go a little bit beyond, right? And he put a nice not a vinyl, but like a cloth liner into the basket with his logos on it, and he would fill it with oranges, like nice juicy oranges, right? And so they would really remember him. They're kind of like, what was that, when he leaves, right? Because he's in, out, gone, right? And then come back as things are underway, and you're getting the claim going, and the adjuster is, you met with the adjuster, you give them an update on that. Hey, we met with the adjuster, we use the same pricing software as they do, things are going good, and I'll come back and check up with you and give you more of an update as things progress, later on. And by the way, here's more oranges to put in the basket. I gotta go, right? So then, of course, I think you already know what's coming. You come back again for the third time after the work has already been completed, maybe with a video recorded testimonial or a handwritten testimonial, or both, with the client specifically pointing out the things that you did more towards the line of, number one, you worked with the insurance company, you made sure that they didn't miss anything, so you kept them honest. You have to understand, the agents are a different world from adjusters. They don't care how big the claim is. They like to hear that you kept the adjusters honest, okay? And so, but number two, things from the VIP concierge category that I was talking about before, right? Things that you were able to do on that end of things. So I think, these are things. So I think agents are a good line, but also property managers and even real estate agents, okay? And I want you to get creative and think of ways that you can approach those people, use them as a repetitive source of referral business, okay? So you might have agents that are referring you once a month, or once every couple months, or once every now and then, right? Or you might have agents that are referring you several times a week, or somewhere in between. And you can see where that faucet of continuous business can be so valuable, even more valuable than some of your residential marketing approaches that you might be having now. Okay, so you should be using that for your residential work, but I think you can elaborate on that and figure out ways of using that for the commercial business. Think of ways you can use that